This is CBC Here and Now.
You come to the site that was your home, and when you look, at this point it's not home anymore right now, right?
A family's loss.
A central Newfoundland family is starting over after a fire destroys their farm. That story and
it is wonderful. It's a thing of nature that you can't buy that.
Plenty of excitement over a humpback in Holyrood.
But all of the thrills are a worry for the whale experts. Good evening and welcome to Here and Now. I'm Anthony Germain.
And I'm Debbie Cooper. A family in Southbrook remains homeless tonight after a fire leveled their house on Saturday night.
The building scorched out of existence and a number of pets unable to escape. As Here and Now's Garrett Barry reports, it isn't just a building that they have to rebuild.
Like you work for 35 years, and 35 minutes is gone.
The kitchen, the bedrooms, lots of memories. Gone.
You come to the site that was your home, and when you look, at this point it's not home anymore right now, right? It's pretty devastating.
And key pieces of farm equipment that represented so much more.
I sort of works away 2 weeks on, 2 weeks off, but the idea was to get the farm up and running so I could stay home and we could make that our business and we could spend quality family time together.
A dream up in smoke.
Farm equipment and stuff that we have purchased and all our seed and all of our storage and back our barn, everything is burnt. Right?
When the fire struck, it moved fast. Gray and his family weren't in the building, so he's thankful.
It was, I guess, by the grace of God, that was nobody in the house, right?
With nothing but the clothes they were wearing, neighbors are coming to help.
If this is what you come home to today, and this is what you've seen, Rodney Gray would be there the next day to help you, and I'm 100% sure on that. But now he needs your help. He needs your help. And I believe with all my heart that you're going to be there to help he and his family out.
There's a lot of work to do.
First thing you got to do is reestablish your ID and everything, where your wallet and everything is burned.
But Gray says he plans to rebuild, even without the help of insurance, whatever it takes.
It's pretty unpredictable right now, right at this time, for our farming future. But right now we sort of got to put the farm on the back burner and get a home for my family. That's basically where we're sitting right now.
Garrett Barry, CBC News, Southbrook.
A young man died in an ATV accident over the weekend. The 22-year-old from Wings Point near Carmanville was the only person involved in the accident. It happened at around 6 p.m. on Saturday, and the man died at the scene. Police are still investigating, and they say it appears the man was not wearing a helmet.
Well, the town of Holyrood has been buzzing with excitement. A humpback whale has been hanging around the area, putting on quite a show. The creature's been drawing a crowd on land and in powerboats, and that has whale experts worried. Here Now's Carolyn Stokes has more.
This small bay in Holyrood has become a big attraction for whale watchers. Every day for the past 2 weeks or so, a humpback whale has been coming in here, feeding on herring, incredibly close to shore, making for some amazing video like this.
That's the kind of sight everyone here is hoping to see, and maybe even catch on camera.
So I guess you're hoping to get like the money shot.
We are hoping for something good.
Breach would be nice. No breaches yet, but we're hoping he's gonna come right out of the water so this guy can see him.
Certainly one of the things on our bucket list, so if we can get this fantastic photo that everyone's been chatting about, that would be wonderful.
So you want to come down here to where the seals are, because the whale starts from the mouth of the bay or harbor and drives the herring and capel in all the way in toward the mouth of the river.
And it's the first time I've seen a humpback in here feeding like this, and we've been here for about 30 years. I was standing at this wharf right here behind me. I heard a noise, and I looked over the side, and I was looking straight into his mouth. He was about 10 feet away from me, filled full of herring.
And we got to see the whale today as well.
There he is.
Plenty of oohs and ahs from onlookers on shore, but the whale's presence has raised some concerns from whale experts.
So you can imagine if a whale is 10 feet thick and it's swimming in 15 feet of water, and you've got a boat that's hanging down perhaps a couple of feet in the water, there's not a lot of room for avoiding a propeller. Say that these animals are surface dwellers at times. They have to breathe just like you and I. They're a mammal, and they come to the surface, and occasionally if there's a vessel moving at speed nearby, they can't always avoid it.
It's against the law for power boats to be within 100 meters of any marine mammal. But even so, Jim Miller says he saw about half a dozen boats motor through the area over the weekend.
If something happens with the whale, he may get excited and somebody can get hurt. So any power boats, we'd appreciate if they'd stay away.
He doesn't want those boats to spoil something this special.
But to have this opportunity, it is wonderful. It's a thing of nature that you can't buy that.
Carolyn Stokes, CBC News, Holyrood.
This is quite the view here at the Fluvarium, but a funding crisis is threatening to close the doors. That story coming up on Here and Now.
Well, taking a look at the temperatures across the province today, that natural air conditioner very much in place. You can see 4 to 6 degrees across the northeast coast, and then as we head inland, Badger, Deer Lake, 19 degrees, Corner Brook, 19 beautiful degrees this afternoon. And we can thank a high pressure system that is sitting off the coast for that northeasterly flow. As we head through the night tonight, I'll add a little bit of a radar to that. You can see some shower activity moving in across the islands. Pretty messy up through Labrador as well, but I'll have all those details coming up in a bit.
A teenager from western Newfoundland has been found not guilty of 3 counts of sexual assault alleged to have occurred on a school bus. 2 girls aged 8 and 9 said a 14-year-old boy touched them inside and outside their clothing. Judge Wayne Gorman said the girls were credible and believable witnesses, but he acquitted the boy, saying the Crown had not proven its case beyond a reasonable doubt. He also said the boy was an impressive witness. The family of one of the girls says the justice system has failed their daughter.
A former Hopedale RCMP officer has been sentenced to more than 2 years behind bars. Ian Callback sexually lured 2 children under the age of 16 using the internet. One lived in Hopedale, the other in Twillingate. The incidents date back about 6 years, and the charges at one point were stayed because the case was taking so long to get to trial. Jacob Barker was at the court today as the sentence was handed down.
Ian Callback was already in custody today to hear his sentence. Provincial Court Judge Phyllis Harris said that the fact that Callback was an RCMP officer at the time was an aggravating factor. Mr. Callback took advantage of the tools available to him to attempt to obtain photos from 2 young girls, the judge said. He chose 2 victims who were known to him, who would be aware of his position as a police officer. And there could be little doubt that knowing he was an RCMP officer likely contributed to an added vulnerability in that there would have been an inherent trust for someone in that position. Along with the jail sentence, there's also an order that Callback be put on the sexual offenders registry for life. He got 14 months on one count and 12 months on the other. Those sentences will run consecutively despite the defense's ask that they be served at the same time. For 5 years, Callback will be unable to be around anyone under the age of 16 in public without being accompanied by another adult. But since he does live with a partner who has 2 children, there were some accommodations made for that. He also can't use the internet except for work or to find work. If he does have contact with someone under the age of 16 through technology, an adult must be present with the child. And while he can have a cell phone, he's only allowed to text or call with it. Callback pleaded not guilty to the crimes and denied that it was him behind the messages when he took the stand. Oh, it was a trial by a judge, and Judge Harris did not hold back today when she told Callback that this was an attack on the vulnerable in our society and that it has to be viewed as a despicable act. Jacob Barker, CBC News, Happy Valley Goose Bay.
To national news now, Jane Philpott and Jody Wilson-Raybould will run as independents in the upcoming federal election. Both are former Liberal cabinet ministers. Wilson-Raybould is in the riding of Vancouver-Granville and Philpott in Markham-Stouffville, Ontario. Philpott is encouraging other Canadians to run as independent candidates.
I hope across the country other people will say, you know what, none of the parties is exactly me. Like, I can't fit myself into an exact box of a party, but I feel like I could represent my community well. Then go for it. Go for it.
The overwhelming message I received was clear. Clear how we need to do politics differently. That partisanship is trumping principle, that exclusion is trumping inclusion, and the lack of diversity of voices was simply unacceptable. And there is too much power in the center.
The two MPs who currently sit as independents were expelled from the Liberal caucus nearly 2 months ago. The Prime Minister said they could not stay on because they were unable to express confidence in him or his government.
Well, now in sports, for the first time, the NBA Finals are heading north of the border, and the Toronto Raptors want to bring the championship home. Quite the scene. After beating the Milwaukee Bucks for the conference title, the Raptors will face defending champions, the Golden State Warriors. For the Warriors, it is the 5th trip in a row to the finals, so it is bound to be a tough series. But when teams met in the regular season, the Raptors swept the series. Still, it is the finals of the NBA. Game 1 is Thursday in Toronto. And another big win. The Growlers are on their way to Toledo for Game 3 in the Kelly Cup Finals. They could be the first professional team from this province to win a championship. The Growlers won both home games this weekend in overtime. On Saturday, Growler Josh Kessner scored in overtime to break the 3-3 tie. And then on Sunday, a 1-1 tie forced the team to OT again, and Scott Pooley scored to win Game 2. The Growlers take their 2-0 series lead into Game 3 on Wednesday in Toledo.
An oil company has dropped its support for a nonprofit institute in St. John's, leaving it in a funding crisis. The Fluvarium, a staple in the city for nearly 30 years, is now fighting to keep its doors open. Here Now's Ryan Cook explains.
If you've been a grade school kid on the Avalon Peninsula anytime during the last 30 years, this is likely a familiar sight for you. This is the deep pool here at the Fluvarium. But this is a site that future kids might not get to see after a key funding partner pulled out.
Well, frankly, we need money.
What do you say? It's gonna be a happy day.
For the last decade, this place has been known as the Suncor Fluvarium, but not anymore. Last fall, Suncor stopped giving its annual $65,000 grant. They've cut ties. This is a frequent sight here at the Fluvarium, a place where young, inquisitive minds can learn about fish and wildlife. Upwards of 10,000 kids come through here every year.
$65,000 is a very significant portion of the money that goes into the education program.
For Bob Piercy, it could spell the end of his job and broader implications for kids.
Key to our programming here is the fact that we take kids out to the stream, out to the pond, out to the river, and they actually get to experience the natural environment. So yeah, we're concerned, and we don't want to have a generation of kids that don't know the outside. We want to continue our programming here.
The Fluvarium is trying to buy time. This original Mary Pratt painting was hanging upstairs. Now it's heading for auction. Perlin hopes it will fetch around $8,000 to $12,000 tomorrow night, enough money to keep this place going for a few weeks while they search for new funding. This is also a popular wedding venue with plenty of bookings for the summer season. Perlin doesn't want people to panic.
We would like to think that we, with the board and buying some time, with some of the money that we're raising now, that nobody should be concerned, that we are concerned, but we would like to hope that we can keep the doors open and the building functioning.
Where is he?
Functioning for kids like these for decades to come. Ryan Cook, CBC News, St. John's.
Now, in a statement to Here and Now, Suncor says it's currently looking at which community groups it will help out in the future.
And they say that could potentially include the Fluvarium. Well, it's not just whales people get to enjoy this time of year. If you've been watching of late, a lot of people hitting the road looking for those icebergs.
Oh, they are spectacular. We spotted this one on the weekend just off Greats Cove, which is at the very tip of the Bay de Verde Peninsula.
Yeah, it's been a fabulous year for icebergs. Twice as many as usual are floating in the areas like Greats Cove and even Bonavista just further north. Now, these northerly winds are keeping them close to shore, making for spectacular views.
This weather update is brought to you by the Healthcare Foundation Home Lottery. Order your tickets now at hcfhomelottery.ca.
Well, too many of us are used to the weekends being not so good, then Monday sunny. Today, the opposite at least.
It was a beautiful
What a
weekend.
It was a stunning weekend. Temperatures mainly on the Avalon staying a little colder than the rest of the island, but yeah, stunning. I hope you guys got out and enjoyed it.
I did.
Yeah.
Saw the icebergs. Excellent.
Yeah, it was incredible.
Then there's today.
And then there's today.
Yeah.
For the Northeast Coast, because, or anywhere along the Northeast Coast, we can thank that northerly flow. If we take a look at the temperatures today, 4 to 6 degrees, St. Anthony 8. But as you move further inland, Deer Lake, Badger 19, Corner Brook, same thing. Those temperatures Up through Labrador, a little cooler, 5 degrees for Lab City, and Churchill Falls only reaching a high near 6 degrees. Now, if we take a look at the current temperatures, you can see a little bit of a drop. Now we're sitting around 2 degrees for St. John's, 18 still in Badger, beautiful 13 degrees in Corner Brook as well. Now, again, I mentioned we can thank that northerly flow for that. We've got a low spinning clockwise off of the coast, and that's bringing in that northerly flow. So as we head through the overnight tonight, another system's going to move in. It's going to bring this shower activity more so towards the west and south coast as we head through the night tonight. We can take a look at that through the future tracker. Up through Labrador, a little bit unsettled as well. Those temperatures are going to dip overnight, so we are looking at that risk of a few flurries with this system as well, especially for central and along the coast. And then we'll start to see that rain move across the island. So here's a look at those temperatures. They will dip down into the single digits. 6 for Corner Brook, 4 overnight for Port aux Basques, 2 in Marystown. You should stay generally partly cloudy overnight tonight before those showers make their way. And then along the coast, like I said, we still have that northerly flow. So rain, drizzle, and or fog as we head through the night tonight. 2 degrees with those northerly winds around 20 kilometers per hour. Now up through Labrador, again, I mentioned that potential for a few flurries. So Happy Valley, Goose Bay, Lab City, -1 overnight tonight. And then along the coast as well with those winds generally easing. Now, tomorrow afternoon, the system isn't fast moving, but it's still going to bring that potential for showers, especially for for the island rather. Could see some clearing, some sunny skies in the afternoon for the southwestern portion of the island. Same up through Labrador as well, especially Lab West. Some peaks of sun around Churchill Falls expected. Other than that, we're looking at the mix of some cloud cover and showers through the day. And then as we head towards the overnight, again, because those temperatures are going to dip, we're looking at that potential for some snow, or at least flurries anyway. So tomorrow, not much of a relief as far as those temperatures go. About 5 degrees for St. John, so a degree warmer. 9 in Clarenville, Marystown, 10 degrees with that potential for showers. Anywhere from 10 to 11 degrees around Grand Falls, Windsor, Twillingate. Again, anywhere along the coast, going to be cooler, around 5 degrees. And then there's that sunshine in the forecast. Port aux Basques, Burgeo, Stephenville, Corner Brook, also looking at that as well. And then up through the northern peninsula and the straits, that potential for some snow. Those temperatures are only going to be sitting in the single digits, mid-single digits tomorrow afternoon. And then as we head a little bit further west, Churchill Falls, 8 degrees, does look like that will be where most of the sunshine will be. Otherwise, those coastal areas still looking at either rain or snow through the day, or mixing with those temperatures between 2 and 4 degrees. And then Lab City, potential for some flurries in the morning, and then you'll see some peaks of sun. So that's a look at the forecast. We'll look a little bit ahead when I come back.
A Newfoundlander known as a community volunteer and healthcare advocate with an interest in politics died on Friday. Simon Lono is being remembered as a dedicated volunteer as well as a knowledgeable mentor. He was 56 years of age. Lono was a longtime Liberal. He ran for the party nomination in St. John's East Kitty-Vitty, and he worked for MP Nick Whalen. He also ran for St. John's City Council a number of times. 6 years ago, Lono was diagnosed with a rare disease that interferes with the body's ability to produce blood cells. He used his experience and struggle to advocate for other patients with rare conditions. Political blogger Ed Hollett says Lono will be remembered for his decency, both personally and when he ran for politics.
He treated people decently. If the rest of us treat people decently, we'd be better off. When he ran for city council, he had a simple 4-point credo. City councilors should adhere to this code of conduct. You know, act in the public interest, do what's best for everybody, treat people decently, honestly, regardless of whether you disagree with them or not. Be open and tell people what's going on. That was Simon. And he was just good fun to be around, and he was just wonderful. And that's, so what did I lose? I lost my best friend.
Well, many people know what it's like to face cancer, but not so many can say they're the face of it. You've likely seen the ads for a campaign to raise money for a bigger cancer treatment facility. The commercials feature people in the community affected by the disease. Here now's Meg Roberts sat down with some of those who were brave enough to share. Meg?
Well, cancer has a diagnosis, a prognosis, a treatment plan, and now it has a phase 2. I had the privilege to meet some of those people who are in the behind the In This Together campaign, those emotional commercials you've been seeing on television. But who are they, and what is it like to be the face of cancer? Well, Juanita Din has been living with cancer for a long time, 11 years. Then in 2013, the doctors told her it had spread to her bones and it was terminal. But that diagnosis has not stopped Din, who works hard every day to live her life to the fullest. Din told me she doesn't want to be referred to as a fighter. The diagnosis is a part of her journey, just like participating in this campaign is.
And what I realized about this campaign very quickly is that it's more than building bricks and mortar. It's more than raising money for a piece of equipment to go in a room. It's about creating a comforting environment for patients who are at their sickest and most vulnerable times in their lives. And how could I not be a part of that? What I didn't want is for someone to say, oh my God, that poor woman, you know, she's dying.
It was terrifying.
And what I'm hearing is, you know, two really key words for me is strength and hope. I guess selfishly, I really wanted to do this for my kids. You know, when I'm gone, this is something that I'm really proud of, and I want them to be really proud of too. And you know, Mom will always be around, because Mama's in this video. You know, Mama's talking to groups about how important it is to give, how important it is to help and be kind. So you know, that's in the back of my mind as well. But you know, I hope that I get to be here for as long as God wants me.
As you probably gathered from the clips, you can't walk away from this woman and not feel completely inspired. I think we could all take something away from her wonderful outlook on life. Now, Tracy Duffy also shared her struggle. About a year ago, she found a lump in her breast. She didn't tell anyone until after she was diagnosed. For her, she says the worst part was telling her friends and family. But now, cancer-free, she's telling her story to people province-wide.
It's been a lot of work. A lot of hard work, and certainly not over. You know, day by day, it's a struggle not to let the anxiety take over, right? Because there's always the worry, you know, the creeping kind of thoughts of what if it's back. I thought whatever I can do to kind of help somebody else who might be silent and kind of struggling, and, you know, I want to be out there to let people know, like, they're not alone. There's so much support if they speak up and look for it. You know, people telling me they're so happy that I'm there to be able to do that. And I'm glad that I'm around, because when you hear that diagnosis, you don't even know if you'll be here, let alone on TV or on commercials promoting the fact that you survived treatment. So I think it's been really positive. People are so supportive.
The In This Together campaign started a couple months ago. The goal is to raise $6.5 million to expand the cancer treatment facility at the Health Science Center in St. John's. There's still $3.5 million to raise, so you'll be seeing Juanita Din and Tracy Duffy's faces until that goal is reached. Reporting for Here Now, I'm Meg Roberts.
I have driven from Victoria to St. John's, and now it is time to head back to Victoria. It's a round-trip drive for me. It is a magnificent experience driving all the way, two ways in Canada.
Welcome back to Here Now. Well, what would drive a man from India, and I mean drive him, to travel to the world's longest highways to give them all a ride? Suresh Joseph drove from Victoria, BC to St. John's, and now he's motoring back to BC. And for him, it's not just a long adventure, but also a chance to ponder life's deepest questions. So, seeking wisdom, I gave him a call and some traffic directions. All right, this is Suresh. He's just driven from Victoria to St. John's. He's going to go now from St. John's to Victoria, and he's agreed to actually take me for a drive. Let's go.
Hi.
All right, Suresh, so why did you want to drive across Canada from Victoria to St. John's?
Tony, actually, I have driven around Australia Highway 1, which is the longest highway in the world at 16,500 kilometers.
Right.
Then I drove from Chennai to St. Petersburg across the Trans-Siberian Highway, which is the second longest.
So from India to Russia?
From India to Russia. And I also took the Trans-Siberian Highway from Vladivostok to St. Petersburg, which is 11,000 kilometers.
Okay.
I have also done the fourth longest highway, which is the Indian Golden Quadrilateral at 5,800 kilometers. So the Trans-Canada Highway was a sort of a gap in this record of the longest highways.
Okay.
So I decided to do this trip, but this is slightly unique in the sense that I'm not only doing it from one end to the other, but I'm doing a round trip.
A round trip?
Yes. Having done Victoria to St. John's now, I'm returning tomorrow. By the 12th, I'll reach Victoria, and I would have concluded the round trip having done about 15,500 kilometers.
Wow, okay, I'm going to get you to turn right up here. This is a very long journey. What about your family?
My family is very happy in Kerala, in India. Mm-hmm. They follow my drives through my blogs, which I try to update every day. And I definitely put up a Facebook post every day indicating the places that I have been, the stuff that I have been doing. So that is the way in which I keep in touch with my family. Most often, you know, this is the 10th year of my driving expeditions. Mm-hmm. I normally never get in touch with them over the phone. Because this is also an opportunity for my family as well as for my organization to grow. I feel that they need the time and space to grow as individuals, to grow as professionals. For instance,
without your help?
Without my help, because you know they need to face the challenges themselves and come out with thinking solutions.
So tell me about the adventures. What sorts of things have you seen?
In Canada?
Yeah, on the whole trip. Because you're about to see something I think you're going to like.
Oh, really? In fact, I think the first amazing experience was the Banff National Park.
Banff?
Yes.
Banff is quite something.
Yeah, it's quite something.
Question.
And of course, the most important visit from there was to the Icefields Parkway.
Okay.
It was, I would say, the most awesome experience that I've had so far.
We're going to stop right here. Just keep going.
Yeah.
Keep going. I just want you to take a look to your left over there now.
Lovely.
Take a look. Oh, stop right here. No.
It's really lovely. Your,
no.
That's the kind of memorial.
So let me ask you this, Suresh. How do you feel when you're driving? Is there any kind of meditation that happens?
One of the reasons why I take these kind of drives is because very few of us spend quality time with ourselves. We get a lot of time to spend quality time with our friends, relatives, with our organization people, but we don't pay as much attention to ourselves because that kind of quality time and attention that we give to ourselves is missing mostly in our lives.
So just to be by yourself?
Just to be by yourself and ask questions which you normally wouldn't ask of yourself. Some of them could be very, very inconvenient. In fact, you would be going through situations in your life, finding out whether you did the right thing at that time, were you on the right course, what could you do to improve yourself. And I do a lot of loud talking when I drive because it's as if I'm talking to myself and I need answers to certain questions which are very inconvenient to me. One of the things which I keep asking myself is that, when on these travels I get a lot of hospitality, without even asking for it, without knowing the people who are giving me that kind of help. I keep asking myself, why is it that I get this? And would I do this if I were in their position? And the answer is a resounding no. No, I wouldn't have helped them, if I were in their position. And the answer that comes back to me is that these kind of good things happen to you because of the hospitality that your parents or grandparents would have afforded others. So this is payback time.
So have you come to some fantastic, cathartic explanation about everything?
I wouldn't say about everything because I keep discovering parts of myself every time I start my drives. So each time I go out onto the road, I probably find a new question to answer, or I find a new thing about myself. So there are a lot of things, there are a lot of dimensions to you that it's very difficult for you to finish answering these questions in a drive of say 15 days or 20 days. That's not possible. And once we get back to our working life, these things take the back burner. So it doesn't come back again till you get the next time to yourself. So I find that these kind of experiences are really very interesting. It has changed me considerably from what I was in 2010 to what I am today. I don't know whether my wife will accept it, but I feel that I have changed.
Well, listen, if nothing else, I've learned that we should all take some time for ourselves, and I'm delighted to have had this small drive. You have a much bigger drive ahead of you. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Ronnie, for spending time with me.
Bye.
So Tony, this gives a whole new meaning for going for a drive.
Yeah, sure. He has a lot to say.
He did, but it was very, very interesting.
Yeah.
He did, I understand, leave some words of wisdom behind.
He did. I'm going to give some here now, viewers. Check this out. So there's a couple of books that he's written about his other trips, and even some coasters. He travels with beverages, which he says he never consumes while driving. But he went on the Trans-Siberian Highway and the Australian Highway, which is Highway #1, some big highways.
And as you said, we're giving these away. It's a little bit of a Twitter contest.
Yeah, Twitter contest. Just be the first and second persons to tweet me at Anthony Germain. And the question is, according to the Guinness Book of World Records, what is the longest highway in the world? Okay, on Twitter, at Anthony Germain, the longest highway in the world, and we'll get these books off to you.
Well, I wanted to continue to do it, and I was defeated in 2015 when the sweep of Atlantic Canada, where Newfoundland and Labrador elected seven Liberal members.
Jack wants back.
A name many of you are familiar with, wants to run in the fall federal election. After the break, I'll speak with Jack Harris. A familiar name in politics in this province has resurfaced. Jack Harris, the former Member of Parliament for St. John's East, announced today he wants to run for his old seat again. Harris held the riding for 2 full terms in 2008 and 2011 until his defeat in 2015. It was a stinging loss to the Liberals' first-time politician Nick Whalen, although Harris put on a brave face at the time.
They had an anti-Harper incumbent. That didn't, obviously, in the end of the day, make the difference. But, you know, that's the nature of politics. You have to accept the reality.
Well, that was then, but this is now with the federal election looming for October of this year. And Jack Harris joins me now. Welcome to the studio.
Well, thanks for having me.
Now, you haven't got the nomination yet, but I presume that is going to happen. So let's say it is a done deal as of maybe tomorrow. Why now? Why do you want to do this?
Well, I wanted to continue to do it, and I was defeated in 2015 when the sweep of Atlantic Canada, where Newfoundland and Labrador elected seven Liberal members with a Liberal government in Ottawa. And I think the desire is still there to represent the people of St. John's East. I have received enormous amount of support and urging and enthusiasm about whether I should run again, and I'm pleased to hear that, and I'm ready to do the job.
So last time in 2015, there was this riding the wave of Justin Trudeau, as you said, 7 red seats here in this province. People are saying people aren't going to ride on his coattails this time around. But why do you think people in St. John's East are ready to return to the NDP?
Well, I think, you know, I'm just going by what people have been saying to me, and they've been asking me to run, and are you running, and I hope you do, and et cetera, et cetera.
But that would be confirmed NDP supporters.
No, these are people who I meet throughout the riding in supermarkets and stores and on the streets, and while knocking on doors for the NDP in the provincial election, for example, as well. Mm-hmm. So people have been asking me whether I would run and urging me to run. So I'm seeing that support there. Having 7 Liberal MPs from Newfoundland and Labrador, I don't think has worked out that well for people. They don't feel that there's a voice independent of government in Ottawa. And there's a lot of people who are disappointed with what they've seen when Trudeau promised to do things differently. You know, the grievances seem to be mounting, particularly in the last 6 months. People are very disappointed in how 2 very prominent female cabinet ministers were treated in the SNC-Lavalin business. That affair itself was disturbing. The recent prosecution of Mark Norman, which collapsed, that's problematic. There's a lot of things that people are upset about, and they're disappointed.
Your leader, Jagmeet Singh, only just got into Parliament in the by-election in February. He's not had a whole lot of traction, certainly not east. How prepared do you think voters will be to vote for a party represented by Mr. Singh?
Look back to the last election. Where was Mr. Trudeau 5 months before the election? Every election is different. We don't know where we're going to be in October. We do know that that's one of the things that people vote on. They vote to choose a member of Parliament. They vote to choose a Prime Minister. They vote for a party. So that's the democratic process, and it's up to the voters what they want to do in St. John's East, as it is in every riding.
You know, you mentioned the provincial election. You were out on the stump helping out the people who are running. Are you hoping for a bump in popularity for the party, having elected 3 MHAs for your party?
Oh, my decision is independent of that. I mean, that's I'm a supporter of the New Democratic Party. I'm a Tommy Douglas, a New Democrat. I'm prepared to run for the party because I believe that we have an opportunity to serve and a duty to try and help make the world better for people. So that's the motivation that I have. I'm delighted to see the progress that the party made in the last election, electing 3 people who had never run before. I think was a great outcome for the party and good for the province to have the kind of government that we have that has to listen to all sides of the House. So yeah, that's a positive thing. But as I say, it was independent of my decision to step back into federal politics.
Jack Harris, thanks for joining us here.
Well, thank you for having me.
A recent exhibit at a St. John's art gallery quite literally left its mark. Mountains of dirt, in fact, several truckloads worth, left behind, and that led the gallery to go public, putting out a call to people who were looking for free dirt.
Behind me is nigh on 40 tons of sand that was part of an art exhibition by Joshua Vetivelu, who's a visiting artist from Toronto. They were here as the inaugural artist in residence at Eastern Edge Gallery's new residency space. So this was sort of the negative space of a boat, the shape of the boat that brought Tamil refugees that landed off the coast of St. Shots, Admiral's Beach in 1986. We have been inundated with sand requests. The notification only went out, I would say maybe 48 hours ago, and I have received probably close to 200 emails in that time. A lot of people were looking for really fine beach sand for sandboxes, so unfortunately we could not help them out, but we confirmed with 50 people. There's even more just swinging by with hopeful hearts, so it's been wild.
Put it in the garden. I'm going to put it in some new raised beds that we built this spring, and I'm also going to put it over our garlic field to help with the soil's pretty compact there, so this helps let the water and get down to the root system like that.
We originally had 38.5 tons of sand, and now we probably have about 4 tons less than that because very wonderful people in the community have been coming to take it away.
East Coast Trail Association was born 25 years ago. It was 1994, and this was the start. I probably shouldn't have worn this on the hike today, but at the big Trailraiser hike on Saturday, June 8th, you can do the East Coast Trail your way.
Join CBC NL at the annual Trailraiser hike in support of the East Coast Trail Association. The fun starts in Bay Bulls with 5 hikes to choose from.
It's skipping.
Register online at eastcoasttrail.com.
I hope you enjoy that commercial as much as we
I'm trying
always do.
I'm trying to see Zach out there in a t-shirt today.
Commercial or
Yeah.
promo or whatever before we get to the weather.
Yeah.
We've got some phenomenal drone footage.
Taken this weekend off of Bacon Cove, south of Brigus.
Just take a look at this.
Yeah, Roger Price shared this video on Twitter, and he took this, wow, look at that, on Saturday.
Look at the color.
It's incredible. It almost looks like there's a pool within the center of that berg. Talk about a polar bear dip.
Oh.
It's amazing.
I like the view from right up there.
Yes.
I wouldn't want to be in it.
No, true, but it's stunning. Like, look at even the
is.
waves coming in. That's a different type of infinity pool.
The
drone shape is perfect.
Yeah, the drone technology has really changed things, hasn't it?
It's wonderful.
Yeah,
it certainly has.
Gorgeous. Speaking of change, can we get rid of the cold in the East Coast and get more of the nice warm temperatures off the Avalon?
Eventually,
Yeah.
yes. But we are going to stay in this northeasterly flow at least for another day or two. If we take a look at what is going to happen as we head towards the day on Wednesday, you can see that little bit of precipitation that's going to move through overnight, and we can thank a little bit of a stationary front that's going to move through. It's going to stick around for a little bit, and then we've got that low just off the coast. So we're staying in that northeasterly flow again on Wednesday, or at least northerly flow on Wednesday as that system stays offshore. Messy again for Labrador, but then we'll eventually see some clearing skies down through at least the southwestern portion of the island, and then clearing, it looks like, into Thursday morning for some areas. But then again, you're going to stay with some rain, drizzle, fog, potential for some flurries as well for the Strait. So here's a look at those temperatures. We are going to see temperatures recover quite nicely, which is certainly good news. So in the teens, low teens for the Avalon, Gander 12 degrees. But then again, with the effect of that low pressure system, we're going to see those temperatures in the single digits for the Northern Peninsula as well as along the coast of Labrador. Happy Valley, Goose Bay, 8 degrees for your Wednesday, and then some sunshine returning for Lab City, reaching a high near 9 degrees. That chance of showers will be towards the morning hours. So by the time Thursday morning rolls around, it looks like we should see some sunshine across the island along coastal Labrador, just some drizzle and fog again. And then the next system will move in for Labrador, at least western Labrador. So we'll see some rain, potential for some snow towards the evening hours, as those temperatures will likely be in the mid-single digits, and you're going to see that move over. Now, this system is going to bring some rain along with some winds with it for most of the island on Friday. That will move through, and then we can see it's got some colder air wrapping in around it up through Labrador, so it will be a little bit messy into Saturday morning. And then eventually, as that system moves further north, we should see some clearing skies with southwesterly flow, and when we see that, that means we're going to see those temperatures bump back up. So that's certainly good news there. Here's a look at what we're expecting over the next 5 days. St. John's and eastern Newfoundland 5 degrees tomorrow. Then we get 12 degrees on Wednesday as we start to see some of that sunshine. Unsettled Thursday, Friday, Saturday, but this will all either happen in the morning or the evening hours, and there's those temperatures bumping up 9 to 13 degrees as we head towards the weekend. If we're looking at the forecast for central Newfoundland, 11 degrees tomorrow, generally looking at those teens right through the week, again unsettled as we head towards Friday. Breezy conditions for western Newfoundland as well. Essentially the whole island will be pretty breezy, and then 13 degrees on Saturday. Up through Labrador, eastern Labrador, 9 degrees is your daytime highs, but as we head towards the evening hours, still putting in that potential for a few flurries. 12 on Thursday, and then for western Labrador, same thing. So we're looking at about 6 degrees for Tuesday, or tomorrow rather, with that potential for some flurries. But then as we head towards the middle of the week, those temperatures will be in the single digits. You should be sitting in the mid-teens. Well, here's a wonderful weather photo. I knew everybody would be out and about this weekend, taking advantage of that sunshine, and so a couple of cod and a couple of lobsters there.
Lobsters and icebergs. Where else are you going to see that?
I don't know, but that is stunning.
That's so beautiful. So the colors are fantastic.
Yeah. I'll tell you where this photo was taken and who took it when we come back.
Welcome back. Something different. A Romanian engineer has built a flying saucer.
Yes, you heard Debbie correctly, and many experts think that this thing could actually revolutionize flight. The all-directional flying object looks like a movie prop. It can flip, it can flop, and it can fly in just about any direction. It can also go upside down, too.
Eyes.
And stare at you.
It can see. Engineers were inspired, they say, by a dolphin because of its exceptional speed, lift, and drag reduction. Up next, a life-size version of the saucer.
Well, that'll get you around.
I've seen lots of those in movies.
Just imagine, right?
Sci-fi.
Yeah, sci-fi movies.
Just before we get to your picture, I want to say congrats to Jamie B. and Eldon Rule in Springdale. They got the answer right to our trivia question. The longest highway in the world is, according to Guinness, the Pan American Highway. So we'll get those books off to you. Thanks for everybody who tweeted.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So we have a picture to talk about.
We do. We have a really cute picture to talk about. A couple of kids enjoying the weather this weekend. Rock cod there, a couple of lobsters.
Yeah, the kids with the lobsters look really happy.
Yeah, I'd say.
What's this?
What is this? Yeah, so this picture was taken in and around Trump Island.
That's a new place for me.
Right.
Yeah. It's a really cool shot there. Thank you so much. Oh, it disappeared, but there you go.
Yeah.
It was a great picture. Thanks very much. And thanks to you for starting the week with us. See you again tomorrow.
I want to visit Trump Island for a whole bunch of reasons. We'll see you tomorrow.
Good night.